If you're a leader in today's world, whether you're a government leader or a business leader, you have to focus, in my opinion, that this is the biggest technology transition ever. This digital era will dwarf what's occurred in the information era and the value of the internet today. So as leaders, if you don't transform and use this technology different, if you don't reinvent yourself, change your organization structure, if you don't talk about speed of innovation, you're going to get disrupted, and it'll be a brutal disruption where the majority of companies will not exist in a meaningful way 10 to 15 years out. This is the connectivity going from 1,000 devices connected to the internet to 500 billion. But it isn't about connectivity. It will transform business. It will transform our lives, our healthcare system. Business models will rise and fall at a tremendous speed. It will create huge opportunities, probably $19 trillion in economic value over the next decade, incremental above what we're seeing today. That's the U.S. economy plus some. But it will also result in tremendous disruption. And this is where it's so important, whether they're countries or whether it's companies, regardless of their size, you either disrupt or you get disrupted. Probably 40% of the enterprise customers around the world will not exist in a meaningful way 10 years from now. When I said that 2 and 3 years ago, my CEO counterpart said, "Hey, John, you've called the other transitions right, but I think that's way too aggressive." I think now most CEOs would agree. If they don't change, they get left behind. When many people think about this, you want to think about the intelligence of an architecture where you can get access to any data, any point in time you want. Simple to describe, but it really means you're dealing with intelligent networks, a next generation of the internet, if you will. But connecting 500 billion devices doesn't get the job done. It's the process change behind it. So you've got technologies like cloud and mobility and cybersecurity and the Internet of Things that are very important. That's actually the easy part. It's how do you change your organization structure? How do you change your culture to be able to think in terms of outcomes for your customers? And it's all about speed of innovation and changing the way that you do business. The majority of the companies will be digital within 5 years, yet the majority of their digital efforts will fail, which speaks to what a CEO has to do differently. She or he has to think much more outside the box. They have to reinvent themselves. They have to reinvent their company, not stay doing the right thing too long, if you will. That's what got companies in trouble in the past, but the rate of change was much slower. Today, you're talking about digitization being an integral part of the fabric of a company's business strategy or the way they interface their supply chain with their customers. Not enabled by technology. Technology will become the company. Focus more horizontally on how things work together as opposed to silos. If all you do is have a bunch of silos in your company that don't really talk to each other, you're going to get displaced by perhaps a small company that has a CEO and a CIO and is $1 billion in sales. We transformed our engineering organization from being in silos to horizontal, took out about 5,000 of the people, worked across the groups, refocused on leaders who could work horizontally together as opposed to in silos, measured on their own P&L. We changed our sales organization, which is one of the top sales organizations in high tech. Most people would agree, yet we changed 41% of the client interfacing execs because they were selling routers and switching and technology, not business outcomes, architectures, and speed to market delivery, understanding the customers. And it caused us to change our top leadership. We changed probably 40% of our top leadership over the last 2 years. Not something I'm terribly proud of, but it's something that we had to do so that we disrupt as opposed to be disrupted. So when I talk about, in theory, what CEOs need to do, this is what we did ourselves. Well, the sources of innovation have to move from being something you do on the fringe to something you have to do mainline. We've been in this transition for almost 20 years at Cisco. We've done 184 acquisitions. We use M&A as a way to enter new markets, and we're number 1 or number 2 in 16 major product families. For our targeted minimum market share is 40%, of which we hit most all the time. It's about to change again. We have to do this faster. We have to create an environment of really rapid innovation internally. The first step is merely making it an independent group, because if you do it inside your organization, your existing culture will kill it. So why do these transitions fail or succeed? They failed to understand the implications of how quickly this technology will transform their business and underestimate what does it really mean to their economic growth or their competitors. Secondly, they stay doing the right thing too long. And that's what gets so many of us in trouble, because we're trained to do 3 to 5% increase in productivity, just crank it, do a little bit better each year, cut expenses a little bit, grow the top line. This is about exponential change.